I'm beginning the show with a video from Bangalore that is both brutal and heartbreaking. Take a look at it. The man on your screens is called Sharath. He was tied up, whipped, and killed by a bunch of men 6 months ago. His crime? Not being able to repay a loan. Sharath had gone missing around 6 months ago. For the longest time, the cops had no idea how to find him. They even tried hacking and tracing his mobile phone, but no luck. But recently, they came across this video that you're seeing on your screens of Sharath being tortured. It's using this video that they identified the culprits, and they turned out to be loan sharks from Bangalore. They confessed that Sharath did not survive the assault, so they dumped his dead body in a forest. Just look at the brutality of this attack. He was tied up, forced to sit on the floor, he was stripped and then whipped to death. And for what? Not repaying his loan. The government keeps talking about financial inclusion and digital banking, about how every Indian is now linked to the banking sector and has a RuPay debit card. But as this case from Bangalore shows us, that's far from reality. Data, in fact, tells us that 80% of Indians have a bank account, which is great news, which is good news. But how many of these people actually know how to operate these accounts? Average financial literacy in India is just 11.9 out of 21. Most people do not know how to manage their account, how to take out loans, and how to use their cards. So 80% financial inclusion is a great statistic to boast about, but the situation on the ground, you're seeing that on your screens. Even today, only half of rural India's credit requirements are met by the formal sector. The rest depends on informal sources, like the extended families, friends, or loan sharks. And now, in many big and small towns, something called shadow banks as well. If people fail to repay their loans, there are disastrous consequences that await them. It tells you how unfair the world is. The likes of Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi scam the system and flee abroad. They live in complete luxury, safe from deportation. But the ordinary man gets whipped and beaten to death for missing a loan payment. Is this what financial inclusion looks like? And don't get me started on the cops in Bangalore. They had 6 months to investigate and find this man. 6 months. Yet they failed miserably. Had this video not surfaced now, who knows, maybe Sharath would have been condemned to the dark annals of the missing. Another one of those cases that remains unsolved in this country. As we look at these pictures, I'm going across for a quick chat to my guests who are joining me this evening. Aishwarya Mahadev is spokesperson of the Congress Party. Mithun Vijay Kumar is a political analyst. He will be speaking on behalf of the BJP. Sanjay Jha is an author, and Bhaskar Rao is a former IPS officer and commissioner of police in Bangalore. Sanjay Jha, for someone who's been a formal banker, how do you react to what we have seen on our screens for the last 5 minutes?
Shreya, let me tell you, this is an appalling situation. There are no words. Frankly, I can't even imagine. All of us here can for a moment empathize as to what Sharath went through during those horrific hours. This is like excruciating torture. It's brutality at its worst. What's his crime? Apparently, it's a fact that he may have taken a loan that he could not pay back. Why would you take a loan? Because you don't have liquidity or you don't have enough wealth or cash. Why would you not be able to pay back? Because obviously you don't have, maybe a regular, reliable, stable income inflow. And why is that? Because maybe there are no jobs. I think this is a manifestation of a more ugly combination of what I call is pathetic governance, where if a guy defaults on paying an EMI or a loan, he or she can get killed. This is Banana Republic, Shreya. Let's not pretend otherwise. It can't. This kind of a video, if it's seen anywhere in the world, in any civilized society, they'll wonder what kind of a country have we become. Because if you fail to pay back a loan, there are certain consequences, but they are not death. They are not torture. They are not this kind of brutal, private, harsh treatment being given by clearly a bunch of sadistic hoodlums. No governance. The cops don't have an idea. I am sure for a fact that whoever has given this loan, and Shreya, if you can investigate this and find out, is it a banking institution? Now, you asked me a question. I've been a banker. Can I tell you something on your show? Respected, well reputed banks, publicly listed banks, foreign banks, and I was part of a couple of foreign banks. They have also hired these, extremely deadly looking, hoodlums, call them, the guys that you find outside pubs and bars as, the bouncers. They are hired because their purpose is to instill fear by their mere physical presence. And they're given a license to actually threaten the family, take away their goods, to, disrupt their homes. And then eventually, I guess, this is where it all ends. I mean, this is a tragic commentary on the state of our economy, on the state of our governance. And I think as a political party character, I think it's a failure of the entire political ecosystem. If somebody is not made, shall we say, arrested at the earliest for this horrendous, horrific crime in the next 24 hours, I think we should all hang our heads in shame. And I want to tell you this very publicly. I'm glad you and your channel are doing this, because I don't think anybody else is even talking about it.
Oh, no, they aren't. Sanjay, to answer your question, we did do some investigation, and our reporters in Bangalore tell us that this wasn't one of your, big banks. What this probably was a shadow bank. And that is the new problem, the big problem that has emerged on the scene. Shadow banks, around 600 of them, that is what the RBI tells us. Around 10 to 15 of them have been banned by the RBI this year itself. But it's a plague, it's a curse. These are online entities. No one knows how they operate. People will go to them, people get duped, they will take a loan, and then what happens is what we are seeing on our screens. Bhaskar Rao, for 6 months, a young man is missing.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
for 6 months, his parents, his family, his parents are going to the police saying, look, we have not been able to trace our son. The last time we hear from him is a message that he sends us that I'm leaving the country. And this message, of course, was written by the loan sharks and sent to his parents after they realized that this young man had died because of their torture. For 6 months, in a city like Bangalore, India's IT city, the cops are not able to locate a guy whose parents have gone to them multiple times with complaints. This is a failure of the entire
it happens.
system.
I will tell you, it is a very unfortunate
But what about the
thing,
policing
but
system,
I'll tell you the reality. No. See, I will tell you, there are certain things in reality which will shock all of us. It shocks us also inside the police department. See, the police department pursues a lot of failures of other systems. The failures of other systems are also becoming a failure of the police department over there. This is something absolutely a banking and loan related thing. This is some case which perhaps has come to light. There are a lot of cases which may not even have come to light. And we are seeing this. At least something is going on because it has come on record. I am sure there are a lot of cases which may not even have come to light also. But I must straight away blame the banking system, which asks so much of documentation for your working capital requirements. And there are so many non-banking financial intermediaries, loan sharks, or what we call as a chakra buddy. Chakra buddy means the buddy goes like a chakra, and what you borrow in the morning, it is almost 10% more you have to pay in the evening. If you borrow 100 rupees in the morning, you have to pay 110 rupees in the evening. And there are people who sometimes are able to pay, sometimes are not able to pay, because there is no microcredit system that is going on. Okay, now this case was from a place called Konan Kunte in South Bangalore, a missing case, then forgotten because he says he has gone abroad over there. A petition comes up in Kaban Park police station. Then the petition is investigated by DCP Central, and then the torture has taken place in another district called Chikballapur, and his remains are dumped about 350 kilometers away near Sakleshpur. So there are multiple places. So you can have, there is a missing case is registered, then it gets converted into a kidnapping case, then into an illegal confinement case, and then finally to a murder case. And so what I'm saying is that don't look at it only like a criminal case over there. We are only, and crime is giving employment to more and more number of people. now than what it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, because all other systems are failing. Other systems have to introspect and see that post-COVID, how unemployment became a huge problem and how youngsters are borrowing money and some are able to pay, some are not able to repay. And people who are in charge of recovery agents, like our banker friend said, that respectable banks are engaging bouncers to recover money. And also, the most unfortunate thing is that these are all to be treated as civil cases. Sometimes you sympathize that banks are losing money. Sometimes you are shocked that, my God, people are borrowing money and not paying and sitting comfortably in UK, living luxurious lives. They should have been treated like this. And if you see who are the kind of people who get beaten up like this, it is middle class, lower middle class and poor people who want to set up a shop, who want to buy a pair of bullocks, who want to buy fertilizer, not able to pay, they are the ones who get caught. And those who are give a collateral, they end up losing land, they end up losing their vehicles, they end up losing gold. So this is something which is a failure of the system. On one hand, when you see things like this, but there is another school of thought which says that people borrow money left, right and center and they don't repay at all. Only the fear makes them pay money. So we really don't know that some kind of a trust quotient has to be built into the financial system that, okay, when you borrow money, you pay back money. But definitely this is not the way to recover money. A life is lost, a criminal case gets registered and money also doesn't get returned over there. So for police, it is just one more case.
We have
it's just
seen
one more piece of
okay.
statistics over there. Tell me, how can police prevent this kind of thing?
Well, there has to be the fear of law. If there is someone, thank you. You are asking me how can the police prevent something like this? I'll put that question to Aishwarya Mahadev, but there has to be something called the fear of. There has to be something called the fear of law, sir. I mean, these four men should have known if they brutally torture a man who ends up dead, that they will be behind bars. They had the confidence that they can do whatever. No, sir, I allowed you to speak. But anyhow, go ahead. Make your point.
So, see, even the conviction, I am doubtful whether the conviction also is going to take place, because the case has to get registered. Public memory is very short. It may take 5-6 months to put all the evidence to get together again, charge sheet, FSL, and then people will retract, and these fellows are going to go scot-free. There is no quick justice also. I've always been advocating that there has to be more number of courts, more number of prosecutors, because such ghastly cases should be investigated in less than 2.5-3 months and punishment given as far as possible. Now, this case will drag on for another 3, 4, 5 years and everything will be forgotten once again. This is what I've been saying should not happen. There should be more public prosecutors, more judges to see that case has got a speedy trial.
Okay. Aishwarya Mahadev, the point that the former police officer is making on the show is a very valid one. Public memory is short. We will debate this today. We will discuss this today. And then tomorrow, everything will be forgotten. For all you know, these four men will be walking out on bail, and what happens to the case next, we don't know. This has happened in your city, in India's IT city.
Shreya, may I? Hello? Yeah. Shreya, can you hear me?
Absolutely, loud and clear, Aishwarya. Go ahead, please.
Okay. First and foremost, when Bhaskar Rao sir talks about the idea of the fear of law, let's be very honest. It's a wonderful ideal to have. It's a wonderful ideal to imagine that it exists in a system. But I live in a state where there is a rate card for everything, for a politician, to a police officer, to an IAS officer himself. And the sad reality is, if you have enough sort of capital in the political space or even enough agency, then you will get away with a lot of things. And that is the sad reality. But Shreya, a whole part of this smacks of a much older, larger problem. And if I may, I'm a Kannadiga, I come from Karnataka, and for us as a child, we'd see these old movies where the Zamindar was the money lender and he would have a whip for all the workers that who were indebted to him, that weren't paying back and whatnot. Thank God we outlawed that system. But today, looking at these visuals that are absolutely absolutely have no place in a civilized society whatsoever. It is a reminder that there are still people that have enough sort of control over others, either by way of money or power, that they get away with this, and the impunity with which they do it is extremely, extremely problematic. And Shreya, there are larger ideas that you talk about, this idea of inclusion and whatnot. There are certain flaws in the banking system on both sides. You talk about inclusion, but then you have zero balance accounts. But after the third month, you start telling farmers that if they maintain zero balance, that you're going to start cutting or charging them for that account. What farmer is actually going to use that account for you is one question. The second part is, a large part of them, as much as you open accounts for them, are not used to the mainstream banking system. Whether it's the fact that a large number of national banks don't cater to them in their own language, which is a big issue in Karnataka. It's also that NBFCs and small money lenders have far more trust than a large institutionalized bank, because to a small marginalized lower middle class or even a farmer class to go look at a big bank, he will assume everything is far more expensive as an exercise. And there's a large part of lot of leakages in the system. There is no trust, which a trust deficit that has to be fixed, because you can publicly admonish everybody saying this never happened in 60 years, now everybody has an account, but utility of the same is the bigger problem. And Shreya, you're talking about cities. I work in rural Mysore, and the sort of joblessness caused due to COVID, the sort of misery, the lack of money in the economy is something that is unparalleled, and it is worse there than it is in the cities. This incident is here that has been reported. Congratulations to your channel for doing such a thorough investigation on it. But these are one of the few cases that exist in rural India too. There's far more again, and the silence is deafening because authorities do not even understand this happening right underneath them. And the loan shark culture is something that is growing.
So Aishwarya,
It requires regulation, Shreya. And this is a big, big failure of not only the banking sector to induce enough confidence for people to bank with mainstream non-shady organizations, but also with the government for not ensuring adequate protection against people like money lenders like this that can get away scot-free with actions like this, and for 6 months nobody knows what has happened to anyone.
The RBI has guidelines. It's not like the RBI doesn't have guidelines. In fact, a state like Kerala has something called the Kerala Prohibition of Charging Exorbitant Interest Rates as well, though it's the only state in the country that has it. But the fact is, I think there is a larger problem here. We have seen loan sharks push people to suicides. We've seen that in Maharashtra. We've seen that in Vidarbha. In fact, we have seen those cases across the country. But what we haven't seen is the sort of horrifying, brutal pictures that we are seeing on our screens today. And I'm just going to request our producer to put that in as I get a quick last word in from Mithun Vijay Kumar. Mithun Vijay Kumar, you're a political analyst. We asked the BJP to send a representative for the show because we thought this was an important story to reflect. In its own wisdom, the BJP decided not to do so. I know you'll tell me you're not a spokesperson of the BJP, but Bangalore right now is the state of Karnataka right now is being governed by the BJP. So an onus of the blame, part of the blame will lie at the door of the government, that you failed, Sarath, at multiple levels, at the banking level, at the policing level as well.
Like you said, I'm not a spokesperson for the BJP, but definitely I will like to comment on this. So let's not attribute the failure of banking system to police, like one of the spokespersons said. The failure of banking system should not be attributed to police. If you see, if the state government is to be blamed, then what about the farmer suicides in Rajasthan? Even 2 months back, there were plenty of suicides happening because of the threats from these loan sharks in Rajasthan and states that are ruled by different parties. I'm not talking any party in particular. Like you said, Kerala government had previously launched an operation called Operation Kubera to crack down on loan sharks. But do you think the problem doesn't exist at all? It is there in India. It has been there always, and it's not. Loan sharks did not emerge in this country after BJP came into power. So let's not politicize this. They have always been there. But ever since Modi took over, I think there is a heavy crackdown on such illegal money lending activities, especially the online ones and the offline ones. There were plenty of Chinese apps that were shut down recently. So we see that there is an operation that is taken care by the government, but again, there is a problem that 1 billion people in this country still don't have access to formal credit. In India, they don't have access to formal credit, and these numbers are what the loan sharks or people, the illegal money lenders are targeting, because If the banks don't lend, there is an opportunity for someone to lend, and there is a demand. So that is being met by these illegal money lenders or people who are not supposed to lend money to the ones who are borrowing. So this is a bigger issue that needs to be addressed through regulations for banking or financial inclusion. But if you compare the metrics of the last 5 to 8 years, I think financial inclusion schemes have have improved the numbers of people who have access to banking facilities. But till today, I can say that if you visit the credit department of any collections department of any lending organization, you can see that the corporate guys are shouting at people, and they are using abusive language. This is happening in India, and that needs a regulation, is what I would say. Let's not politicize this issue. It's very painful to see the incident. It's very heartbreaking to see the video, but this is a reality, and let's face it, and let's not politicize it.
The reality also is that we now have a bigger problem at hand, something called shadow banks, which are completely online. So loans are taken from here. Then there are these loan sharks that are the via medium.
What is the solution?
And that is where a big con is happening. The RBI is completely... what is the solution? Yes, what is the solution? Well, the RBI thinks banning these shadow banks is the solution. I think they've banned some 11 to 15 such shadow banks, but there are 600 in existence. I'm sure there are many, many more. One possibly crops up every day. How do you keep track of that? And the solution possibly lies in that. Maybe it's not going to be as simple as that, sir, but I think maybe that is where you could make a start. Good question. What is the solution? I don't have a solution. I don't think any one of us has a solution right now. But I do hope that the RBI has taken a look at the video that we have put out for the last 20 minutes to see just what, yes, you can. Just exactly what loan sharks are capable of doing. Sanjay Jha, quickly, I just have 10 seconds to go.
Yeah, very quickly. This is also evidence of the terrible glaring inequality in a country, that there are big loan defaulters who get away with, absolutely daylight murder. Yeah. And an ordinary citizen of India who needs meager resources is actually kind of meeting death. I mean, that's, to me, is pathetic. And, the other problem, again, is that until we begin to respect the investigating or the agencies which are eventually meant to protect the citizens with sensitivity, I don't think we'll ever be able to make our citizens feel secure.
We'll leave it there. Aishwarya Mahadev, thank you very much. Mithun Vijay Kumar, thank you very much. Sanjay Jha, I'll request you to stay on with us. Bhaskar Rao, thank you very much for joining us. We are shifting our focus to